Welcome, everyone, to Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni. We're here to bring you tales as sweet as a glass of sweet tea on a hot summer day. From the rolling hills of Tennessee to the dusty trails of Texas, we've got stories that'll make you tap your boots and clap your hands. On our podcast, we interview amazing country songwriters and singers, sharing stories of love lost and found, of cowboys and outlaws, and of the simple joys of country living. So grab a seat, pour yourself a drink, and get ready to be transported to a world where the stars shine bright and the music never stops. Whether you're a city slicker or a country bumpkin, there's something here for everyone. So sit back, relax, and join us on a journey through the heart of America. Welcome to Stories Round the Table with Hudson and Joni.
Today, we have the privilege of interviewing a true music industry veteran and the mastermind behind the public relations magic of this very podcast, Vernell Hackett. Vernell's journey with music began at a young age, but her path took a surprising turn. While initially drawn to the world of crime reporting, a fateful college assignment to cover music events ignited a passion that would define her career. From there, she merged her love of storytelling with her newfound love for music, embarking on a remarkable journey as an entertainment journalist. Vernell's early days saw her honing her skills at the Country Music Association's magazine, Close Up. This experience provided a front-row seat to the heart of Nashville's music scene, allowing her to learn the intricacies of the industry from the inside out. Her hunger for knowledge and dedication to her craft propelled her forward, leading to stints at prestigious publications like Top Billing, Inc., where she rubbed shoulders with legends like Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash. But Vernell wasn't content with just reporting the news. She craved a deeper connection with the music and the artists behind it. This desire led her to become the editor of Country News magazine, where she played a pivotal role in boosting its circulation to become the industry's largest. Her vision wouldn't stop there. Vernell co-founded American Songwriter magazine in 1984, a platform that allowed her to delve into the creative minds of the very people who shaped the music she loved. For 2 decades, she served as the magazine's editor, fostering a space for songwriters to share their stories and the magic behind their creations. Vernell's insatiable curiosity and relentless pursuit of knowledge didn't end there. As a freelancer, she graced the pages of countless publications like Billboard magazine, Reuters News Service, and AOL's The Boot. Her articles transcended country music, venturing into bluegrass, Americana, and the fascinating world of Western music. Beyond print media, Vernell's voice has resonated on the airwaves as well. She served as the daily country prep writer-producer for Westwood One and crafted compelling content for popular radio networks. Vernell's passion extends far beyond simply consuming music. She actively contributes to the community she loves. For over a decade, she organized a songwriting seminar in Tennessee, providing aspiring artists with invaluable guidance. She also generously shares her expertise at schools and colleges, equipping the next generation with the tools they need to navigate the entertainment landscape. Vernell's dedication to her craft doesn't stop at journalism. She's a published author, having co-authored Ghosts, Gamblers, and Gangsters of Las Vegas, and penned biographies like Carrie Underwood, a biography. Her creative energy even manifested in the form of a short story published in Literary Cash. Beyond the world of music, Vernell's interview list is a veritable who's who of entertainment. From country music icons like Garth Brooks and George Strait, to actors like John Schneider and comedians like Steve Martin, Vernell has a knack for extracting captivating stories from the people who shape our cultural landscape. Join us as we delve into the incredible mind and career of Vernell Hackett. We'll talk about her experiences in the ever-evolving music industry, her passion for storytelling, and the secrets behind her success. Buckle up, music lovers, because we're about to embark on a journey fueled by passion, knowledge, and a genuine love for the power of music.
But first, I want to welcome you to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your really busy day.
Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely. I don't even remember the first time I got to meet Vernell, but I think there was kind of, at least for me, kind of a magic connection that I felt right away. I mean, she just has a warm way of making you feel welcome as an artist. And, I think that's one of the most important things for somebody who is interviewing artists is to have that knack and the way of knowing how to make them feel comfortable. Yeah, that's very important because if you're uncomfortable and they're uncomfortable, it doesn't make for the interview. So you learn pretty quick. Even if you are nervous a little bit, you try to cover that up. Well, from what I understand, Vernell, you've always known you wanted to be in journalism, and you went to college for it, and were kind of going after maybe working at a newspaper or something like that, and then you had a love of music, though, and lo and behold, the two intertwined, correct? That's right. I have always loved, well, my brother was a policeman, and so he always told me great stories, and I thought, boy, it would be great. I would like to go to work for the Houston Chronicle, and I would like to be their police reporter. And he kept saying, I don't think that's a good idea because I think you're too good-hearted that you'd believe the criminal and not the police. So, but anyway, he encouraged me, and then one day at the newspaper at the college I went to, Sam Houston, they said, we've got Mac Davis coming in, and we're afraid nobody's going to come see him, so we want you to interview him. And I thought, interview Mac Davis? Oh, my gosh, So it turned around. He was as nice as he could be. That was my first interview, my introduction to celebrity interviews. And I started thinking, you know what, Deb was a lot of fun, and maybe I could do that instead of criminology. And so that's when I kind of turned to wanting to work in entertainment journalism. Awesome. That's a great story. Yeah, I've heard Doc Davis was just a super nice guy. So that's a good thing you have somebody really nice your first time, because I'm sure that throughout your career, there's been other times you say, wow, I wish I would not have had them. We don't need to go into any names, but sometimes maybe it isn't as nice of an experience. That's true. There's, I know there was one time when this guy I thought was being just really overboard with like, oh, well, you could hold the microphone, honey, and, that kind of thing. And I'm like, honey, you, buddy, Later's already got nicer in his career. I don't know what happens, but he got a lot nicer in his career. And there were a couple of times. There was a time at West Fest, which I think you came to several times, where there was an artist, brand new, and the publicist begged us to include him in the story we were doing on West Fest. A friend and I were doing stories out there, and so we said, okay, we will. And since he had horses, we took him down to the horse barns, and he walked in and looked around. He said, I wouldn't have my picture taken with any of these horses. And I was like, that's good. That's nice. I said, that's good, because we don't really need you for this story. And my friend freaked out, and I said, no, we don't need him. We have plenty of people. We were doing this as a, for this publicist, and we just don't need him. And I turned around, I walked off, and she's still freaking out. And, but we didn't use him at all. His publicist was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that he did that. But, I could tell you his name and you wouldn't have a clue who he was. Does he know? No, it doesn't matter. No. Yeah. But we were saying if he never did anything in music, and it wasn't that instant that it is, but it was what he did in that instant that made him not, I think, that made him not become, somebody that people knew. Absolutely. Well, nobody wants to, I mean, we all want to look up to the celebrities and the people that we like their music or their stories and so. I think, yeah. Yeah, definitely. You want to, at least you want them to be nice, and try to do a good interview and try to be whatever you're trying to do at that point. We didn't have any problem with any of the other people at West Fest. We took them everywhere in the Mountain Men Village and in the Indian Village, and everybody else wanted to go anywhere we wanted to do the story. Except because you're really there to help them. I mean, that's what your job is, to help get them better known, right? I feel like that, yes. And that's why I like to do the new artists as soon as I can, because you get to know them a little bit and you get to know their story firsthand before they start to get in a little bit bigger and maybe they don't have time to do as many interviews or not as long an interview for you to get in depth with them. So I like to feel like I'm helping along with the careers, because that's a good feeling, to be able to help people.
Oh, absolutely. That's the best time to get involved with somebody.
It is, yeah, because you learn you learn everything about them in the beginning, and then once they've been in it a while, they start leaving things out, not on purpose, but because they've got so much to talk about. So if you get in the beginning, you get to talk to them. One of the groups I've talked to lately is Chapel's Heart. I don't know if y'all are familiar with them, but it's a trio of girls from Mississippi. They're all in family, and they're just awesome, and they have awesome music. And I was so happy to get to talk to them very early on. And then they got to be on one of the shows. I'm sorry, I forget which one it was, if it was America's Got Talent or one of those. And they got in the top 10 of that. And it was just great to watch them climb and root for them as they were going up on that. And then as they're trying to get a deal and everything in Nashville. So that's just kind of cool to do. Absolutely. Well, you're very good at it. Have you got go ahead. I think you had a question and I interrupted you.
Oh, no, you're fine. I guess my question would be more, what's it like to get to work with them hand on hand? You kind of create their story. You kind of create their persona. Tell us a little bit about that.
As a journalist, you mean?
Correct. I mean, it's what people read, and that's what they believe that artist is.
That's true. And the one thing I try to do is I try to make sure that I have everything right when I sit down to write the story. I haven't had too many mistakes, thank you, Lord, where I had to go back and correct things. I had one really bad one where I said somebody married the wrong. I had the wrong person that they married. That didn't go over well.
Oh, no.
But anyway, we got it cleared up. But I try really hard to make sure that everything that I say about them is right. And I try to let the artists tell their story more than me tell what I think about the artist so much. Because as the artist is talking and telling their story and telling you what they've been through and telling you what they want to have happen in their career, I think that's what the fans want to hear more than what I think specifically. I mean, I might interject some here and there, but I just really think they need to hear the artist tell their story. And I'm just kind of the conveyor of that to happen. Well, I love that because that's what makes an artist is their uniqueness, in my opinion. And that's one of the things that I always did in Nashville when I went there and I started to see a few different people that kind of were trying to be just like somebody else who had made it. And I always believed and always will that, there's already one of them. So let's find out who you are and what you have to bring to the table and the country music industry. And, so I think you're spot on trying to get them to open up and did you grow up listening to a lot of different country music in your home, Vernell, and your family? They all big country music fans? They were. The typical story, every Friday and Saturday night, we listened to the Opry. And my dad loved it. My mom loved it. I do remember that, as you know, back when I was growing up, that it wasn't all country and it wasn't all, you could hear a little bit of everything. So I did get a taste of a lot of things back in the 50s, maybe early 60s. But then it started to break up, and it was country station and rock station and all that. And I tended to stay with the country. I didn't miss the rock all that much, so I missed some of the people that came up in rock. I go, who is that? But somebody would ask me about, that I like so-and-so. But I stayed with country, and there were country artists around my area like Terry McBride's dad, Dale McBride. I don't know if you ever listened to him.
Yeah, you have clear friends.
And that was one, that's a funny story. When I was in Terry McBride never hit me. And then he started talking about his dad. And I became a total idiot fan. That was your dad. I loved your dad. And I'm just watching him go, oh no. And so down, and I got back to the story at hand, but I was so excited, to meet him because I loved his father so much. So, yeah. Well, I was just going to ask you if there was anybody like me in particular that when you were growing up was somebody you just loved their music and later on it had the opportunity to interview them. That's kind of a story like that, or like anybody else that even would be more popular that you said, man, one of these days if I get to be, do that, and then you were able to interview them, that had to be pretty special. It was, I guess it would be Willie Nelson because right there, I loved him. I just, when the transistor radios were popular, I would walk around with it, just waiting to hear one of Willie's songs. And I thought everybody in the whole world knew who Willie Nelson was. And when I got married and moved to Buffalo for a while, we went to a concert. It was Willie and Waylon and Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright. And I'm not sure if there was some other people on it, but when I heard the song Man Paul, I thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if that was a concert I went to, because people there did not know Willie and Waylon. They did not. And Willie was very gracious about it. But Waylon came out and did his set. And the audience was just like, yeah, who's this guy? And so he got to the last song and he said, well, I hear the radio station here is playing this song, so maybe you will recognize this. And he sang that song and he walked off the stage. But he wasn't being mean about it. It was just like they just didn't know him. It was just weird to me that they didn't know those two guys. So, well, that had to be really early on in their career then, yeah. It was pretty early. But still, in Texas, Willie was the king at that time too, next to Bob Wills. So, and I got to interview him first. I went to Texas to interview him when he had his record label. And we sat forever. And why
Hey there, country music fans, love the show? We're thrilled to announce the launch of our brand new website, Stories Round the Table with HudsonandJoni.com. That's right, Stories Round the Table with HudsonandJoni.com. There, you'll find everything you need to stay connected with the country music world. Browse past episodes featuring your favorite country artists, get a sneak peek at upcoming shows, and even learn more about Hudson James and Joni Harms, the dedicated country music enthusiasts behind the mic. But wait, there's more. Now you can show your love for country music with our brand new merch. From comfy tees to stylish mugs, we've got something for every country music lover. Head over to the website to check out the collection and rep your favorite artists and the genre you love. Stories Round the Table, your go-to for all things country music. Visit Stories Round the Table with HudsonandJoni.com today.
Press did, while TV and radio went ahead of us, and then we finally got to go in, and of course they shortened their interviews, but I was still so excited to get to talk actually. And then a few years later, I was interviewing Bobby Bear at a concert. They were doing some kind of concert. Willie was on it, Chris was on it, Waylon was on it, all those guys. And Willie happened to walk in the room while I was talking to Bear, and Bear said, Willie, you know Vernell, don't you? And he looked at me in a minute and he said, we have met somewhere, haven't we? And I had always heard that if Willie ever met you, he would never forget you. Well, and I said, we did. It was that when you're with your record label in Texas, I came down and I interviewed you there. And he's like, oh, yes. And that was just really cool to me that he did actually say that he remembered me. So he was very nice, and you were impressed with how he treated you and everybody else that you spoke. Oh, he couldn't have been nicer. Yeah, apologized in that first interview for making us wait so long, all of that kind of stuff. Just, what you would expect and hope of people that you really, really love. And he turned out to be great. So, and others do too, That's great.
So tell us a little bit about what it's like to really work behind the scenes. The person that no one ever hears.
I didn't get the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell us what it's kind of like dealing behind the scenes everybody's trying to grab that interview and that hustle and bustle. How does that get?
Anyways, yeah. Yeah, it can get kind of hectic sometimes. It kind of depends on what the setup of what you're doing. But if you're at a press conference and they announce whatever they're going to announce, and then everybody wants to have an interview with that person to get their own quotes. And so sometimes they'll put groups of people together and, everybody gets to ask 2 or 3 questions, and then they move that person on down to another group. Or sometimes you just, if it's not organized very well, you're just kind of fighting to get in there. Not really fighting, but you know what I mean. To get in there so you can ask your question, so you can have something that's a little different of an answer from something that the guy that in front of you that just asked something would have. So that's what you strive for if you're doing the news stuff, is you really want something that that you got for your own interview and nobody else got that answer. So, and then they do what they call round robins, where it's very organized and everybody sits together, and then whoever asks what, it's for everybody. When I first started doing those, I thought it was kind of odd, but then I realized that was most expedient to get the most people to an artist. And if the artist didn't have a lot of time, then that was the best thing to do. So it became a better thing for me after I understood what was going on. And so you go and you're promised an interview, and you get there and you wait for maybe hours, and then and then the publicist comes out and says, "Well, I'm sorry, they can't do that tonight," or whatever. And you're going, "Well, why did you tell me to come here?" So it can be run the gamut for being very well organized, and you get what you need, to a situation like that where you're like, "I thought I had this story, but I didn't." And then you have to go back and tell your editor that the interview didn't come through.
Yeah, there's definitely highs and lows for sure. Yeah.
There are, but I love what I do. I love the writing, the journalism. I love the publicity that I do on the other side. It's just a great life. I met this little kid from Riesel, Texas. That's a town of like 600. I mean, when I was dreaming after I decided I wanted to get to music journalism, I had no idea. I had no idea that I'd make it. I had no idea that I'd ever get to Nashville. And for it to happen, it still is amazing to me. And I'm here to do it.
So would you say it's almost just as competitive in your aspect of career as it is for an artist to make it?
No, not as competitive, but it's certainly competitive with different journalists. Some journalists can be much more competitive than others. But yeah, it's competitive because you want to get a story, or I do anyway. I want to get a story for whoever I'm working for that has something a little different in it, and I think everybody probably strives for that. But some people are a lot more aggressive about they want their own time with an artist, and so it depends on who they're running for. They might get it, and then they'll get something totally different from what you get. But yeah, it could be competitive sometimes, and if you're always hoping that you'll get in good with a publicist who might give you a break every once in a while to give you an exclusive on something that an artist is going to do. That's always the hope, that you might have somebody that will feed you a couple of things every once in a while, so you got to have a break. So.
Huh. Well, Joni, you got something?
I was just going to ask her how, because I know she's been in this business a long time, and I just was curious, how the changes have been, and does it really affect you as a journalist, or not so much, maybe with all the different trends of when country music was really country and 16th Avenue or 16th Avenue, and now the way things are is that, you still love, because I know you love the traditional country music as Hudson and I do, and the 90s country, and even the Western side of things. I know you've got a big spot in your heart for that. So, is there, how's it been? Are you still loving it just as much with the way things are? It's just got to be a little bit different, though, doesn't it? It's different, and there are certain artists that I really love, and there was there's some of it that I'm not so crazy about, but you have to hope that all of those artists are there because they want to be in country music, and they're getting their direction on country music from what they heard. Like you were talking about the '90s artists, some of the artists growing up that are out there today, that's what they listened to when they were younger. So they got into that, and that's why they're doing what they're doing now. And then some of the newer artists had a little bit more of a rock edge to it, and so that's what they've turned their country music into, is a little bit more rock. But you have to hope that they're doing it from the heart and they're not doing it just to follow a trend. And I think most of them are. I think most of them are. Because when you talk to them, they're very sincere about their music and their love of music. And they'll rap off people that were influential to them as they grew up, when they thought maybe they would get into music. So I think for the most part they are, and if they're not, they're probably going to drop to the side at some point. No, plus you can kind of pick and choose who you work with, can't you? To some degree, I mean, you kind of are known in the Western music world as the go-to person, publicist, and that you show up a lot of the events for Western music, and I think that maybe some of the newer acts have people that are more into that style of music for their publicists, don't you? Well, they do. And I was kind of amazed at one point when I was pretty new that some of the people that worked in the business, they didn't like country music, but they worked in it. I never quite understood that. But yeah, anything that I love Western music, and I'm from Texas. And so I grew up with a lot of the Bob Wills and the Western swing, and Sons of the Pioneers, and the early Western type things, and I just loved, as I got here and found out that there were like Riders in the Sky, and then Chris Ledoux and Michael Martin Murphey, and then I learned there was this whole other group of artists as well, and Joni, when I first met you, I knew you more as a country singer, but then you got back into your Western heritage there too, and so it's just great to find all those people that have music that you really like. How did we first meet? I was trying to remember when I was working with Boyd on Capitol, or it was working, because I remember the songs that you had out back then, so I think I must have interviewed you at some point, maybe for Country News. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. But I do remember, I can't remember when exactly it was, but I do remember thinking, what a nice lady, and then it seemed like we saw each other a few different places and continued to do some work together. And of course, Deborah Everett Price is adorable as well. And, I didn't know, and I always hit it off with you two, and was always hoping when it came to some kind of publicity that we needed to do that I could work with you gals. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I'm trying to cut my phone out. No problem. Deborah's great too, and she loves the music, and she's a little bit more versed in rock and stuff than I am. I know a lot of it, but she is, and she does a lot in the Christian market. But she loves her country music, man, and she's got to where she really loves the Western music as well. So, I think I did that. So, it's saying, you listen to this, you need to listen to that. Come to this art award show with me, kind of stuff. So I think I got her to that. Good for you, Vernell. Yeah. But as far as the publicity side,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I hope this doesn't mess you up.
I can edit. Well, we have an editor now. There we go.
Oh, good. I just can't get it to cut off. I don't know what the deal is.
I'm sorry. Do you need us to wrap it up, or?
No. I'm going to figure out how to cut this off so it doesn't keep interrupting. Here we go. All right, there it's off. As far as publicity, I knew publicists and everything as a journalist, but then one day, a lady called me, and she worked as a publicist at Top Billing, and she said she had seen a lot of things I'd written, and she wanted to know if I wanted to come and be her assistant at Top Billing. And Top Billing at the time was one of the major booking agencies in town. They had people like Jim Ed Brown and Helen Cornelius, Jack Green and Jenny Seeley, Rich Sovine, Dolly Parton. Oh yeah, I think I've heard that name. That little blonde from East Tennessee.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But so I said, yeah. She only needed me a few days a week, and she wanted me to do tour press because she didn't have time to work the magazines and do tour press at the same time. And the funny thing was, she must have thought I knew what I was doing, because the first day I was there, she brought in a book that gave you all the radio stations in the country, and a book that gave you all the newspapers in the country, and put it on my desk and said, there you go. Just go down the list and see who's got what dates and start booking interviews for them. I said, okay, I got to close the door. I thought, what am I supposed to do? And so, she wants interviews. That means I'm going to have to call people. So I just kind of made up my own thing as I went, and I would call like a 50-mile radius around the city that the artist was playing, and got a lot of interviews because, like I said, those people were really hot at the time, and yeah, figured it out. But she just either she thought I knew what I was doing, or she thought I figured it out. One, because I finally got it.
So you must have figured it.
Can you tell us a little bit about how it was to interview Dolly? She's great. She's funny, and she is serious about what she's talking about at the same time. But she doesn't mind cracking a joke or making a joke with you or whatever. And she's just really great. She's very personable. And if she didn't know you, she'll know you before she leaves, because she's just like that. She's just talks to you and gets into you. But one of the funniest things that happened with me and Dolly, when I was doing interviews for radio, of course, they were total silence in the background. So I set up my recorder and everything, microphone and all that was on a stand. And we started the interview, and I'm sure you've noticed that her nails are very long. And she talks with her hands. So here she's going, talking, throwing her hands, going click, click. So I reached over, just kind of moved the microphone back. But when I did, her gestures got bigger. And she's still clicking on the microphone. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do, so I just had to let it go. And when my person in New York got the interview, she said, what in the world is this clicking, and why didn't you get rid of it? I said, well, I couldn't. Those are Dolly's nails hitting the microphone. And I moved it, and she just kept going. And so they just laughed. They said, well, it's okay. We're going to use it no matter what. Oh, that is too funny. Wow. It was like, see, one of your favorites that you've, is there anybody else that you would just say, and then you were a little nervous when you first went in to meet him, but just had a big time with him? I've probably got a lot of them, but, well, I never really, I guess when I first came to Nashville, I worked for the Country Music Association. And I was like an assistant in publicity, because they really hired me to write. At the time, their newsletter was like 4 pages long, if you can imagine that from what it is now. And they really wanted me to write that. That's why they wanted a journalist to do that. And so my first interview was with Tex Ritter, who I loved. I loved his music. I didn't know much about his movies, though. I loved his music. And so my boss came in and she said, now, we've done some interviews with Tex Ritter before, so we want you to find out something that we haven't talked about. I thought, you got to be kidding me. He has done thousands of interviews, and I'm supposed to find something that he hasn't talked about. And I don't know. I didn't. I did okay. I wrote the story, but I couldn't imagine. I couldn't think of anything in my head that did. But I was a little nervous on that one. And then later on, at same place, anyway, I was interviewing the Statler brothers, who I loved. Never had met them before, but, and I went down to meet him in the media room and turned around to cut the tape recorder on, and they had bought new equipment. Didn't tell me, didn't show me how to use it. And so I'm kind of fiddling with it, and Harold comes over. He said, "What's the matter? Can't you get that thing to work?" I said, "Well, it's new, and nobody showed me how to use it." He said, "Give me a minute." And he figured out how to work it, set it up for me, and we went on and did the interview. And they were great. But, and oh, that's cool. Yeah. And they're some of my favorites that I've interviewed, I guess. And yeah.
Well, Vernell, we're getting a little short on time.
Okay.
And as a closing, you have anything you'd like to say to people that are really wanting to get, in your line of work? A piece of advice.
Well, let's see. I really think that you need to love what you're doing. And so if you're getting into music just because you want to meet the celebrities and you're not really care about what you write, I think that you really need to love the writing part of it as well as going to the concerts and meeting the celebrities. And the other thing is, I think that you need to study country music, because if you only know, and I'm not saying anything bad about any of these, but if you only know Jelly Roll and Luke Bryan and Lainey Wilson, and you don't know Hank Williams Sr. or Ray Price or Jimmy Rogers or Bill Monroe, then you're not doing justice to the music, because you need to know what went on before as well as what's going on right now. And so many people don't necessarily do that.
Very true.
That's good advice. Yeah, for sure. I think it's the same as the art side. There's not very many people that consult me, and I don't think Hudson either. On, you hear almost the first couple notes of one of the songs, or certainly maybe just the first little bit of somebody's voice. And if you're a really country artist, I think you should be able to say, "Oh, that's so and so," right on, just that quick. Yes, I agree. Yeah, no, yeah, for that, because it is the same with the artists. If they don't know who and what went before them to pave the way, then they're doing a disservice to the music, I think. I do too. Well, Vernell, man, what a treat to have you share some of the inside stories of doing the journalism and the, I always thought that would be something that I would enjoy doing too. And now I'm kind of doing it with this show. And if I'm understanding it right, Hudson's about got you talked into coming on the team as well. And so I think it's going to be really fun to see some of the behind the scenes people, certainly some of the artists that never got maybe recognized the way we think they should have. And just let folks, so our podcast can be very different than most other ones, because we're going to, get behind the scenes, if you will, and talk to folks that don't usually get to be in the interviewing situation. Yeah, I think that's good. That's one of the reasons I love talking to songwriters, because they don't get a lot of recognition. And I love giving them publicity, because they deserve so much more than what people hear about them,
They're the backbone.
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. Bobby Bear told me early on, maybe my first interview with him, he said, "Now, Vernell, you really need to get in and talk to songwriters, because they're a lot more fun than artists." and I did, and they are. Cool. All right. Thank y'all very much. I was shocked when y'all said you wanted to interview me, but it's been fun, and it wasn't nearly as nerve-wracking as I thought, so.
No. Well, you will make it nerve-wracking.
Y'all were great. Thanks.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
This is a Lone Star Legacy Productions